The views and content expressed on the following program are provided solely for informational and entertainment purposes. They do not constitute legal advice. A podcast is not a substitute for retaining a competent, licensed attorney to advise you on your specific legal situation.
Break the business, play is work and work is play. Power into creators, have fun along the way. Break the business, doing what it takes. Celebrate success and learn from the mistakes.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is time for Break the Business, where we empower indie creators and have some fun along the way. I'm Ryan Kairalla, and it is a pleasure to have you here this week. Summertime is finally upon us, and for those of us who live in South Florida, that comes with a lot of positives and a lot of negatives. Positive: school's out, which means that traffic will be less insane for the next 3 months. We all love that. That gives us plenty to cheer about. On the negative side, my outdoors will be a electric bill raising hellscape of just incessant, brutal, humid heat. And there's bugs everywhere. Just bugs, just a array of bugs. You can't escape them. They're in your house. They're out of your house. That's South Florida in the summertime. Lots and lots of bugs. But it also means that it's a good time for creation. There's going to be a lot of artists out there who are playing music. The summer touring season's here. And so I'm going to greet summertime with open arms, as I am going to greet this first show of our summer season with a similar amount of enthusiasm. We have a fantastic show tonight. We're going to be chatting with music executive Russ Rieger. I'm excited for this interview. We talked to him a bit in the pre-interview. Got a good vibe from the guy. I mean, I love the podcasting stuff he does. You know, he's been in the game for a long time, so I know we're going to get a lot of great insight just from his experience. But just from chatting with him in the pre-show, I felt a connection. I feel like he's going to be a great interview for us. And that's coming up in the second segment. And speaking of people that we always vibe with every time they come on this show, let's go ahead and bring on our co-host this week. Zach Sloan is here. Hi, Zach.
What up, Ryan? And also happy Pride.
Yes, indeed. Happy Pride. I have been I've been torturing a lot of my friends with a video I saw on TikTok where somebody made like a supercut of Dick Cheney 20 years ago or so, like giving some speech where he's just like, you know, whatever two consenting adults want to do in the privacy of their own home is really just their business. And then it's that, and then like with Born This Way by Lady Gaga playing in the background. Like, just LGBT legend Dick Cheney with a Lady Gaga supercut. I love what TikTok brings us.
Please send that to me.
Um,
Ryan,
yeah.
I'm doing great, man. Colorado summers are lovely. They get hot, not as hot as you. We have some bugs, not as many as you. But you know, we don't have alligators, so I feel pretty good about Colorado right now.
I actually want to get to Colorado this summer. We saw let me ask you as our Colorado correspondent. We saw like a random TV commercial for Vail that like came up while we were like watching something on Amazon. Is Vail like a cool place to go in the summer? Like, should we hit that up, the wife and I?
Vail's cool. If you want like a mountain experience, I would recommend Crested Butte.
Crested Butte. But how do I say that name without giggling? That's the problem.
You don't, and they don't care. Crested Butte I like more than Vail. I like Buena Vista, not Buena Vista. They will get upset. It's Buena Vista for some reason. I love that place too. Aspen, Vail, those places are cool. They're a little like touristy, as are most Colorado mountain towns anymore. But I mean, you can't really go wrong. Like, whatever, dude. We played Beaver Creek last summer and it was a blast.
And I'm supposed to say that one without giggling? What is it with your state and just laughter-inducing city names?
We have some great city names that are utterly ridiculous, and that's what makes Colorado great. But yeah, come on out, man. You can come through Denver, fly into Denver International Airport. I'm sure you've heard about it. The Illuminati live there. And then you stay with us for a little bit and then go to whatever, you know, mountain town you want to go to.
Done and done. I like the sound of this already. And are you excited for our guest as I am? Like, this guy seems cool, right? Russ Rieger.
Yeah. Anytime somebody says, I was going to go to law school, but then I heard The Clash, I'm like, all right, this is my kind of guy.
Yeah, I did enjoy that little piece of insight from him. And, you know, obviously anybody who was inspired to make the good decision of not going to law school that you and I decided to do anyway It's probably somebody whose advice we should share with our viewers and listeners. Another reason why I'm excited to talk to Russ, in addition to his tons of experience in the industry, his podcast, just all the great insights I know he's going to share, is I'm also excited to talk to him for something he put in the guest questionnaire. One of the things that we ask all of our guests to tell us before coming on Break the Business is, what things are you into outside of the music industry? We want to know that stuff so that we can ask them questions to kind of learn more about them during the show outside of just the professional stuff. And one of the things that he put in there, which is particularly exciting for me, is he mentioned Star Trek as one of his interests. Now, I'm not sure what to do with this, Zach, because a lot of people know from this show that I'm really into Star Trek. I love me some Star Trek in all of its forms and incarnations. And whenever I see a guest say that they're into Star Trek, which is not as common as I wish it was, I never know how far to go with them. Like, I want to talk about Star Trek, but I also don't want to completely scare off the guests. So, like, do I just keep it chill? Like, hey, who's your favorite, Kirk or Picard? Or, like, am I allowed to get weird? Can I show him my Enterprise D Lego that I assembled over the holiday season? Can I tell him about my fan fiction scripts that I write? Like, how deep into the weeds can I go without scaring the guest away, Zach?
I don't know why you would ever not show your Enterprise. Like, I remember when you brought that on the show in the box, and I went upstairs after the show and told my wife he's never going to assemble that. And I believe our guest, Talking Violet, if I'm not mistaken, said that they didn't think you would do it either. So I think you have to show it now.
It did take me a rather insane amount of time. And it took me so much longer than it should have probably to assemble this starship, that like I'm afraid of like taking it from where it is and bringing it here, because like if I drop it and like a single piece falls off, I'm going to be so despondent. But I don't know how weird to get with him. It's just going to be a judgment call. Maybe we keep things surface level because like I don't want to scare him off. Trekkies out there. I don't know if you're a big Star Trek guy, Zach, but like this is something that we're often struggling with. And I think it goes for Star Wars fans as well. When somebody tells you that they like the pop culture thing that you love the most in the world, your immediate impulse is to just want to drown them in your love of that show. And 99 times out of 100, when you do that with somebody who's just like, yeah, I like Star Trek, okay, I like Star Wars, okay, you will absolutely scare them off. And I don't want to scare them off. But, I'm also excited by the fact that we actually have somebody on the show who likes Star Trek.
The dude's been in the music industry for decades. I don't think you can scare him. Like, this is the least of his scary encounters. I think it's fine. I think you go for it, but we should probably talk music business first and then go in. Like, we got to ease him in. Like, we can't just go right in with Star Trek. Like, we have to, ease him in with some industry questions. But you're right. Not only did he like come up in the music industry, which is always a weird job, but he started in the 80s, which is like the weirdest era of the music industry. Like, you've seen some stuff if you started in the 80s. Yeah, and I like when I get perspective of people who've been doing it for that long, because he's been through the transition from vinyl to cassette to CD to digital to streaming. So he's
Back
kind
to
of
vinyl.
So I want to see. I want to get some longitudinal perspective if possible. But I'm very excited. The dude just has great energy. It's going to be a good show.
Yep. Now, though we are going to talk to him about the music industry, I don't want the entire focus of this week's program to be music industry centric, because I have actually gotten some feedback from some viewers and listeners lately, Zach, who say that we have been leaning a little bit too heavy into the music biz lately. And perhaps that's a product of our roots. Like when we started Break the Business, we were an indie music podcast, but somewhere along the way, we expanded our mission and said, we are about empowering all forms of independent creators. Whatever you are creating, if you are independent in that thing, we want to be the show for you. But yeah, every once in a while, we get a little too deep into our music industry roots. And so I appreciate when audience members tell us, hey, I'm an indie creator, but I'm not a musician. Can you speak to the work I do too? And so I want to start this week's show talking about indie filmmaking. And particularly in light of the fact that I think indie filmmaking is kind of a big deal right now, is very much in the news, considering that like the biggest movie around right now that has dethroned Star Wars as like the biggest deal in cinema right now is a movie created by an independent YouTuber for a less than $1 million budget. Have you seen or heard about this movie Obsession, Zach?
I would like to start the segment by saying I will never forgive you, Ryan Kairalla, because you sent me a link to the trailer and some clips, and I don't like horror movies, and now I'm freaked out. So thanks. I've heard of it. I didn't realize it was a horror movie till I watched the stuff you sent me, and it looks terrifying and awesome.
I support this movie and I want it to succeed and I love the success it's having. I will not watch it because I'm with you. Like horror is just not a genre that speaks to me. And this movie in particular looks utterly terrifying and just, and like the premise is pretty terrifying, right? It's this lovelorn guy who makes a wish that his crush loves him more than anything else in the world. And like in the ultimate be careful what you wish for story, she becomes just completely terrifyingly obsessed with him. But from what I've read in like the plot summary of it, it's so much more terrifying than that. Like this movie is over the top. And while you and I are not big horror people, you know who is big into horror? Gen Z and Gen A. Yep. And this movie is speaking to them, and it is doing something that the film industry thought wasn't possible, which is it is bringing Gen Zs and Gen Alphas to the multiplex again. This is a market that we thought was sort of lost to cinema, and the YouTubers are bringing them back. Horror genre is bringing them back. And, to me, this is an exciting development. The fact that this movie is doing well, has grossed over $150 million worldwide so far, for a less than $1 million budget, like that's a heck of an ROI, is awesome to me because it's a reversal of fortune. Because particularly in the last decade or two, we've seen a shift where basically Hollywood is all about tent poles and making money off of existing IP. In 2025, 9 of the top 10 English language motion pictures by box office gross were all adaptations of existing IPs. They're sequels, they're adaptations, they're remakes. The only one I'm not including there is the Formula One movie, which in itself is kind of an adaptation because it's an adaptation of the sport of Formula One. And look, I'm not judging you if you like those movies. That's fine. I love a good sequel every now and then. But when we lose original filmmaking, when original films don't become a part of our collective monoculture in film, that often drowns out a lot of independent voices because we don't let independent filmmakers make sequels and adaptations and remakes. So if we're not funding original films, we're not funding independent creators. So when a movie like Obsession shows up and it is a big win, that's exciting for me because it's going to tell Hollywood this is what people want. This is what the Gen Zers want. And so I think it's going to lead to a resurgence of all these major studios going down to YouTube, finding those YouTube filmmakers, those young independent filmmakers, and giving them opportunities they otherwise wouldn't get. Yay.
It's never surprised me that the younger generations aren't going to the theater because all they are getting is rehashed stuff that their parents like.
Yeah.
So to give them something new, and I've complained about this on this show for years now, right? Media is just recycling and regurgitating. It's movies, it's cover bands that are known more for their covers than their originals, right? It's the remake. It's how every TV show is now a rehash of something else. To see an indie person strike it big like this with an original concept is refreshing, and I hope an industry wake up that maybe the youngsters want something that's different, and 59 Marvel movies may not do it for them.
That's exactly right. And I think it's exciting to me that this is happening through YouTube. Obviously the Gen Zers and the Gen Alphas, like this is where they're consuming their content, right? It's all internet, it's all YouTube and things like that. And so those are the people that are getting propped up. But now what it's doing is it's allowing YouTube to be kind of like a minor league for future film directors. It's giving these folks an opportunity to cut their teeth. And it's telling Hollywood that you don't need a big budget to make big box office gross. You can have a $1 million budget and, a $70-80 million box office gross is a catastrophic failure if you're a Marvel movie. If you are a million low budget horror film, it is a huge ROI. And so does it make more sense for Hollywood to put all their eggs in a single Marvel movie basket or Star Wars basket, or take a chance on 10 of these independent filmmakers, and hopefully one out of those 10 is the next Obsession, and not only helps out the studio and invests in the future of filmmaking, but it brings the younger generations to the theater.
Well, technology is amazing now. When we're talking about indie artists of any kind, right? You can make a record in your apartment. You can make a movie. Like when you say this is a low budget movie, if you watch the trailers and the clips, this does not look low budget at all. This looks
That's
like
very
any
true.
production you would see, and the soundtrack sounds as good as anything you will hear in a movie. The thing looks legit. So hopefully these studios are getting the wake up call that, hey, you don't need to spend, $40 million on a movie, to give some of these indie guys a shot with a smaller budget and reap the returns.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because yes, my jaw dropped when I heard that this movie was made on $1 million budget.
Under $1 million.
Yeah, it was like 750K. Like, and I'm not saying that I mean,
that's not inconsequential money, but compared to other movies, that's a low budget.
But this doesn't look like Clerks, right? This looks like a major studio made it. And so that's but to your point, I think that is a testament to where technology is these days. That we're all carrying rectangles in our pockets, these iPhones that can film things better than most cameras could 10, 20 years ago. Yeah. And with all the software that exists now, and just the education that exists now, like the things you can learn about filmmaking just by watching YouTubers, is leveling the playing field, and it's creating opportunities for independent creators. And this is the last piece of the puzzle, is if we get these major studios to realize that there's a lot of talent on YouTube and a lot of great independent filmmakers out there, and they just need a shot, that can be the thing that allows independent filmmaking and a lot of these independent filmmakers to bubble up to the surface.
Man, it's an exciting time. I hope this works out for the best. I don't know if I'm going to catch this in the theater. This seems too scary in the theater, but when I can, I may just try and get through this just to support it, because it looks, I don't mean get through it in a negative way. Like, I just don't like horror, but I may get
I mean, this one looks so scary, Zach.
I'm a wuss.
I read the plot summary on YouTube, because I often do that with horror movies, because I'll look at a trailer and be like, I want to see what happens, but I don't want to have nightmares. And so I'll just read the summary of what happens. And the summary gave me nightmares. It is so terrifying, dude.
Testament to the writer.
Oh, and that's the other thing about horror, by the way, right? Is the great thing about horror, if you are Hollywood, right? Because you're always saying we need to bring people to the theater. We don't just want people to watch things on streaming. We want people to go to the multiplex. You know what brings people to the multiplex? Horror. Because there is no substitute to watching a really scary movie in a room with a bunch of other people all screaming at the same time. You can't replicate that in your home. So horror is a great genre to bring people back to the theater. One, because it's a better experience to watch in a theater, and two, you can make horror for cheaper. So so many things are working in independent creators' favor here. All right. I hope that helps to assuage the criticism we got for not talking enough about non-music independent creation, because now I do want to talk about music before we bring in Russ Rieger here. Interesting article that we read recently in Joe Govea's Substack, basically talking about, the title of it is "If I Ran Spotify." It is great industry writer Joe Govea talking about the things he would change if he got to run Spotify. And I love this article for two reasons. One, because he's got a lot of great common sense insights in there that I think would actually help Spotify out and make it a better value for the artists who make music for Spotify. And two, I like it because he echoed a bunch of the ideas that you and I talk about on this show. So let me run through his list of the reforms he would make to Spotify. The first two are pretty interesting ways that he would combat the rise of AI music on the platform. And I'm not, making a judgment one way or another about whether AI should be in music, but it does not help Spotify or any of us as consumers to just have AI flooding this platform and money, royalties being generated, not going to actual human creators. And so what Goivea talks about in his article is a twofold solution to combating AI. One is putting in a human identity verification where Spotify actually verifies that a human is submitting the work before it's brought in, like a know your customer solution, the way that like Fidelity does for brokerage accounts. And then the second thing is charging $1 per song to be submitted to Spotify. Not a big amount, but enough money that like it disincentivizes people from just throwing a bunch of AI stuff into Spotify because you don't want to pay $1 a song for it. So love those two solutions. Was there anything from the article that really spoke to you there, Zach?
So yes, two things.
Two things.
One, as soon as I got to the part about royalty allocation, I knew you loved it.
Because user-centric royalties, he talks about that. Yeah.
As soon as I got to that. Two, I think it's very, very interesting that Spotify didn't do the dollar thing already. Like, as soon as I read that, I thought, why? That just seems so obvious. I'm upset I didn't think of it. Because Spotify, I mean, think of the money that they can make doing this. If they are able to charge $1 per song, that's going to eliminate a lot of the AI stuff, but it's also just going to generate them more money. And if we know anything about Spotify, they care more about money than they care about music. So I was interested that isn't already in place. If I can get a little nitpicky, I think it's hilarious that there's a bunch of AI images in the article. That cracked me up. But other than that, I think the writing itself is actually top notch.
I like that a lot. I also thought his solution, or not really his solutions, but just he had some pretty good common sense recommendations for improving Spotify that would create a lot of value for creators, and they should be low-hanging fruit for Spotify because these are things that are well within their ability to do. So one of the things that he talked about doing in the article is for Spotify to create a Backstage Pass Substack type model.
Love it.
Where basically what you do is you allow the artist to continue to have their music on Spotify as a free thing, but then also give artists the option to put some additional items behind a paid subscription tier, alternate demo versions, acoustic versions, commentary tracks, like additional things that fans who are super fans of that artist can pay extra for. Like the fans are already there, the tracks are already there. Like why not make that an extra thing for artists? Another thing that he recommended that in that kind of same vein of just easy additional things that Spotify can add that can create value for artists on that platform is creating like communities and listening rooms, right? Spotify already knows who the biggest fans are of artists, right? They do that Wrapped thing every year where you can see like, oh, I'm in the top 2% of listeners of Bare Naked Ladies or something like that. Why not create a feature where you can create a special group chat listening room forum space where all of the top 5% of fans of an artist can get together, listen to the music together, have group chats, forums, discussion threads? Why not give this data to the artists? Let the artists know, these are your fans, these are your biggest fans. Here they are all in one place. Here's a forum where they're all talking. Go talk to them there. Like that's such an easy win for Spotify and for the artists. Why Spotify is not doing this, I don't understand, because they already have the data.
They have it, and what's interesting to me is something like this already exists on Reddit. Like you can go to Reddit and find your favorite band and join their subreddit and talk about it. Spotify could grab all of those people if they would allow a function when you come over to talk about Bare Naked Ladies, that music can also be playing in the background, that you can do album release listening parties together and you can chat about it in real time. They can poach all those people. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's doable because Spotify certainly has the capital. So I would love something like that, especially because there are some niche bands that you just don't know if anybody else really likes and you'd like to meet some people.
Absolutely. And particularly if you are Spotify or any of these music streaming services, what you are currently offering, that core product, is pretty fungible. I can stream a Ben Folds song on Spotify just as easy as I can stream a Ben Folds song on Apple Music or Deezer or Tidal, right? There's no differentiation in that core product. So if I'm Spotify or any of these music streaming services, you can actually create something distinctive and capture more audience by creating some kind of value add that makes you distinctive. I would be more inclined to stream on Spotify as opposed to Apple Music if I knew that on Spotify there is a forum where all of the biggest fans of that artist are, and I can talk about my favorite artist while listening to their music in the forum. And maybe once a week, my favorite artist joins that forum and does like a Reddit style AMA. And it's all happening on Spotify. And again, Spotify can do this. It's easy. They have the data already. They already know who your biggest fans are. Like, this isn't a big lift for them. Why they aren't leaning into this is beyond my understanding.
Well, and if you think about like artist engagement, right? There are some artists who do hop in to their own subreddits. And I know of a lot of podcasters that will go in there and like farm for information and topics. Like, what a great way to encourage the artists to also use your platform, right? Like if you're Spotify, getting the Bare Naked Ladies to come in and use your platform is a way to get other people who are fans of that band to then switch to your platform so that they can therefore interact with their favorite band. I mean, it just seems like such a win-win. You know what? I hope, should I say it? Yeah, I do. I hope Deezer does this.
You hope like any of the other platforms are listening to this are like, oh, that is a good idea. Well, Spotify's not going to jump on it.
Yeah, I hope, you know what, Deezer, or actually is it Napster, still pays better than Spotify. Napster, get on this.
I'm rooting for that. I would love for the company that like destroyed the music industry 20 years ago to be the thing that saves it and creates value for artists.
Circle of life, baby.
Yeah, it's an enemy of my enemy. All right. Let us take a break, Zach, and we'll go ahead and bring in our guest, Russ Rieger. I'm excited to talk to him. This one's going to be a blast. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on Break the Business.
Break the Business is presented in cooperation with Ryan A. Kairalla, PA. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA is a law firm providing transactional entertainment legal services, including contracts, business formation, commercial law, copyright, trademark, and more. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA, Miami, Florida. rkpalaw.com.
Streaming services for Break the Business provided by LEK Entertainment. LEK Entertainment is a full-service entertainment company offering everything from consultations to full-scale events and productions, including audio and video productions, voiceovers, staged theatrical productions, script and music development, and streaming services. For more information, visit lekentertainment.com. LEK Entertainment wants to help you bring your story to life.
Thanks for supporting Break the Business. If you have a question or topic that you want us to discuss, email us at breakthebusiness@gmail.com. You can follow the host, that's me, on Twitter at Ryan Kair, and you can follow the show at the BTB Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all major podcast platforms. And now, let's get back to the show. Welcome back to Break the Business, everybody. Ryan Kairalla here with Zach Sloan, having a grand old time and fending off the criticism that we get that all we do around here is talk about the music industry. We had a pretty good movie talk in that first segment, talking about the rise of independent filmmaking. I probably should mention the director, Curry Barker, of Obsession, because, I mean, obviously a YouTuber like him getting the opportunity here to have one of the biggest movies of the year so far and coming out of YouTube to do it, that deserves some special recognition. So good on you, Curry Barker. Love to see what you're doing next. Although I did read that one of the things that he's talking about doing as his next project is like creating an extended universe around Obsession where he creates like other film and TV projects where other people make wishes that go like terribly wrong. And on one hand, that sounds like it's going to make a lot of money. But on the other hand, it's like, really? You're going to do sequels and adaptations and remakes too? Like, you're going to be part of the machine? Like, you know, we celebrated your original film and now you're just going to do what everybody else does and make, you know, billions of dollars, of course. But come on!
Or maybe he's going to have like an actual original spin on it where all these things sort of cross paths and you'll see a character here show up here, but it's not necessarily feeling like the same movie. Is that too much to hope for, Ryan? Probably.
What I also read about Obsession, which I thought was pretty funny, Zach, is Did you read where he got the idea to make this movie?
No.
This is kind of amazing. Are you a big Simpsons guy? Like, did you watch that show growing up?
I haven't watched it in a while, but I did when I was a kid. I watched
Okay,
it.
so do you remember like the really old Treehouse of Horror episode on The Simpsons where Homer like gets this monkey's paw
Oh,
that
yes.
it grants wishes and but all the wishes go wrong?
Yes, absolutely.
That's like he was watching that episode of The Simpsons and that's where he got the idea for this movie Obsession. And so I love it for two reasons. One, the idea that like The Simpsons is what gave him this, one of my favorite shows, but also that like that episode probably came out like a decade before he was born.
Yeah.
That is an old episode of television. I love that that's a pure Gen Z filmmaker, but man, his inspiration's all millennial and Gen X, baby. We love it. Happy to help encourage the next generation. All right, let us go ahead and bring out our guest this week. I'm excited to talk to this guy. He is an acclaimed New York-based music executive, artist, manager, podcaster, and entrepreneur. He currently serves as the CEO and founder of Not Yet Dead Media, a company that aims to give indie artists management, label, catalog acquisition, events, and content services all under one roof. You can find out more about our guest's work by visiting NotDeadYetMedia.com. We're happy to welcome Russ Rieger on to Break the Business. Hi, Russ.
Hi. This was the hardest thing for me to do, to not be able to weigh in on all the topics you were talking about. In fact, I'd rather skip this and go back and just go back and talk to you about everything you talked about for the first part of the show. That was really good.
I mean, that sounds better for me. Is there one or two things from that first segment that you feel like you want to contribute to?
Well, A, you're not freaking me out by talking about Star Trek, because I remember the first time Next Generation was coming on, and I was not excited because there was nothing going to be better than the original. And then to hear the first episode and watch Picard stand up after the typical Star Trek alarm came on because something else was threatening him, and he stood up and he went, "Turn that damn thing off," something like that. I stood up and applauded. So that's when I fell in love with Patrick Stewart, because that was the greatest way to move away from Kirk. So there you go. Star Trek, we could talk about that.
My man.
I will never see Obsession, but that's but yeah, I know you're talking about why movie industries don't do that, but the larger movie industry, remember, they're cruise ships, they're battleships, they're huge. To be able to do something like that, that's what indie is all about. Someone to do something, take a chance, use iPhones, make a movie like that and go. That's what makes indie so special. That's why I love, whether it's indie music, indie film, indie off-Broadway, indie, everything. That's where the creators live, right? That's where you have no net and you take chances. So I'll never see it because I can't watch horror either, but I like you. So, and I really like that Zach's here, but I hate him because I used to have that hair and I don't have it anymore. And so I really dislike him right now, even though I'm just jealous. That's really what it is.
Russ, over all the years that Zach and I have done this show together, he is teasing me because every week that we do this, my hair gets less and less. And, now I look like Patrick Stewart. And Zach's hair just grows longer and more luxurious with each Zach Sloan appearance. And he's just doing it to piss me off now.
That is true.
You're with me. He's pissing me off too. So we're kindred spirit on that and Star Trek.
Get a damn haircut, Zach.
I got one today. Thank you very much.
No, don't touch it. Keep going. It's great. It's all good.
Yeah, give us a shake.
Especially when you put your head back. But yeah, I hate you.
All right. Want to talk to, God, I have so many directions I can take this in. But first, I want to get really businessy with you here, Russ, because it's something
Sure.
I've always wanted to know more about. I want to talk to you about Maverick Records, Madonna's old label. You were the GM and executive vice president for creative from 97 to 02. I love the idea of what Maverick was because it was one of the great success stories of artist-backed labels in an era where many of the artist-backed labels of that era were not successes. What was the secret, in your view, to Maverick's success? What made Maverick so successful when a lot of those vanity labels of that era weren't?
Wow. Well, there goes the show. Um, that's way too long. Um, I would say that you had, again, it's always just like bands or just a song. It's always about chemistry. It's always about chemistry, right? So if you took Freddie DeMann, Madonna, and Guy together, there was just magic that was created there. I mean, Freddie DeMann was one of the greatest managers ever to walk this planet, or any planet, probably if we went to Star Trek again. Um, and that was his dream. And Madonna was one of the smartest people I've ever met. And Guy was an incredible connector and A&R guy that found. I mean, from Alanis, that was him getting what was it, the Chili Peppers or something to go on to make that record. He had a great vision. So if you put them all together, you created magic. So, and then I was just privileged to come on when they were still a small staff. They were really through Warner Brothers. So it was kind of my task to take them from, I don't remember, like 12 people to about 120 or something, and kind of, I grew up on Warner Brothers as a manager, so, and kind of disassociate and block it and move it away. I wish they would have stayed together longer. It would have been a legendary record label if they would have been able to make that work for a longer period of time. But I got to do amazing, amazing stuff there, so I'm really happy.
What was the nature of Madonna's involvement in the label? Like what sort of stuff was she doing for it? Like how active was she in Maverick?
Well, for an artist, she was active. Anything that was coming up that was involved. I mean, if we wouldn't have been able to do that, have such a big Austin Powers record if it wasn't for her giving a song and resisting all the other people that were calling her up saying that was going to be a smash, and why are you letting that just be on a CD and take it away and strip it and make it a single? Because I had to go on the phone with her to kind of say that would kind of kill the record. So she gifted Maverick a hit, which was awesome. And then she was always stopping by and always in conversations about things. So her presence did a lot just by itself. And anytime you talk to her about music or about strategy, she was light years ahead. She earned everything anything about the legend is true.
Oh, I love
Let's
that.
put
And
it
I
that
know
way.
that you're making producer Lauren smile in the green room because she is probably the biggest Madonna fan out there. And I'm sure she loves the idea of her playing a very active role in Maverick being such a success. Another thing that I enjoyed when I was reading the guest questionnaire you filled out, Russ, and I smiled when I saw that you put this, is how the work you did starting in the 80s, where you were managing and working with a lot of those just 80s bands that we love very much, like Modern English, Cyndi Lauper. And anytime we get a guest who was involved with bands from that era, help make those bands happen, it gives us an excuse to play my all-time favorite TV commercial that makes me laugh every time, and I think you're going to get a tickle out of it too, Russ. So I'm gonna cue this. I'm gonna have producer Lauren cue this up. Do you remember those commercials? Those compilation album commercials, like Now That's What I Call Music, where it's just like a bunch of songs on one CD that all fit a particular category. Well,
Yes.
About 25 years ago, Time Life released, and you see it there, Modern Rock. I don't know why they called this album Modern Rock. The tracks on it were neither modern nor rock. It was all 80s new wave hits, but oh my God, the tracks on this compilation are absolute bangers. Cyndi Lauper and Modern English, by the way, both very much on there. But what I love most about this commercial, and it makes me laugh every time I watch it, and I go back and watch this video like at least once a month because it makes me laugh every time, is in the editing of this Modern Rock commercial. Whoever was editing this is a genius, should have won an award. He takes the O in Darkamisar and takes the O in Tainted Love and mixes them together in the commercial, like so that it completely lines up, and you get this piece of brilliance. Producer Lauren, can you play this for Russ?
Modern Rock, 24 new wave dance hits.
Come turn around. Oh. The commissar's in town. Oh.
Tainted Love. All your favorite 80s dance hits.
Thank you. Oh, here. Can you give that to us one more time? I can't hear it enough. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Oh, here we go. Yes, just do it. Yeah, just edit it. Here we go. Here it comes. One more
Rock
time.
24 new wave dance hits. Tainted Love. All your favorite 80s dance hits.
I mean, it's genius. It's absolutely brilliant. As a man of 80s music, like they couldn't have done that any better, Russ.
He was a DJ in another life. Can you imagine back then splicing things? So that was a whole. Think how hard it was to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So
that wasn't easy 25 years ago.
No, props to them. The last night I caught the end of. You talk about indie movies. I caught the end of Sing Street. So and
love Sing Street.
There you go. You want to know about the 80s? You go see Sing Street. That I think that says so much about it too.
I want to hear from you what that era is like. Because artist managers in general have amazing stories, but there has to be nothing like managing artists in the 80s. Can you take us to like that world, that experience?
You don't know me, and if you did, you'd go, "Wow, he doesn't have the memory for these things." So
that's how good it was.
It's easy. No, it was easier. It's easier to remember Prodigy and the Matrix than it is to remember that. I remember. What would you like to know? I remember Modern English really well because I still go see them and their friends, and one of my close friends who I hired there is still managing them. The 80s were a weird time again. Everyone talks about it's always been hard on the music industry. You have to remember the 80s, the large record labels back then, they used to be college radio. That was when CMJ existed. So CMJ was the Billboard of college radio. They were going through a downtime like every decade, the record industry, and they fired all of the college departments. They got rid of them. So the company that out of college I worked for, which was called Side One Marketing, were ex-college radio guys that worked at labels that came back in. Will Boutwin ran it. He eventually was president of Columbia, right? Was it Columbia? Epic's Columbia, I'm pretty sure. And a great manager. So back in the 80s, it was, and all these bands that you're listening to now that Time Life would do a cool version of, no one played them. No one played Melt With You. Melt With You was a college song. It wasn't a hit. It was a hit after the fact. It's on all these stations now. It was not a hit. We got it on Valley Girl, which was lucky. And it was one of the only, it was fantastic. They played the whole song twice, but they played the whole song without any, there was no one talking. It was the whole song. It was just a soundtrack to the love scene between Nicolas Cage and the love interest. That was it. There was no radio then really playing this stuff. That didn't work. I mean, back in the 80s, it was like the 70s. 70s were an amazing decade of music, but when you think about it, all the music that I grew up on and loved, that was underground. The 80s, all that was underground until the UK came back again and changed it. I mean, I remember when Depeche Mode was at Warner's and no one knew who the hell they were, and they played a stadium.
Yeah, I mean, to that point,
it was that no one played stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I'm right about this. Producer Lauren can double check, and if I'm wrong, don't tell me I'm wrong. But Zach, do you want to guess, at least according to what my head says is right, the best-selling artist of the 1970s? Oh, I think you're muted there. Because, like, you would think, like, Bee Gees, right, or somebody like that, like one of those, like, quintessential 70s artists that when you think of artists, you think of 70s, you think of Bee Gees. But do you want to guess?
I mean, I want to say Zeppelin because that's where my heart is, but I don't think that's right.
It's John Denver.
Like, when I got my first record player, the first record I bought was John Denver's Greatest Hits.
Well, there you go. But that's to Russ's point, right? Like a lot of the artists that we think of when we think of the 80s or when we think of the 70s are not the artists that were getting radio play in the 80s and 70s. We've coronated them with being 80s and 70s artists after the fact.
What made the 80s was MTV.
There you go. Yeah.
MTV. And that was the, in a sense, the disruptor of that era. MTV was the disruptor. MTV was the tech part of that, right?
Yeah.
Music videos, it changed everything. There was no music videos. And then people started learning they were commercials.
Yeah.
So
You know,
MTV, the if you want the two things that I guess the 80s had on a great side was MTV and some amazing music, and the bad thing that always does it is gated drums. That gated drum sound that didn't translate out of that decade, that
I
everybody
love
loved back then. That was horrible. That just didn't. That just, you hear it now, and it's like
Yeah.
watching a
Hey, man, you
1930s
were talking
movie.
about Jack Antonoff in the pre-show. He's bringing it back. Bleachers,
Yeah, there
gated
you
drums.
go. That was Cougar. Yeah.
Yep. So, Not Dead Yet Media. Where did this name come from? Because it's a great
Yeah, that
name.
was sacrilege. I got to tell you, Ryan, that was sacrilege. So here's the thing. This is why I do everything I do, because I'm a diehard fan. That is the name of one of the great UK artists of the past 20 years, named Frank Turner. The song is called "Get Better," and it's "We Could Get Better because we're not dead yet." That's why, and it came right from there. Everything's a song lyric. Everything
So,
that matters is a song lyric.
so
Yeah.
it sounds like your mission for this company, based on that explanation, is sort of aspirational. Like, the industry's not dead yet. You are aiming to to use this company to create something better in this industry. So, what does it look like? What's the goal?
Um, Yeah. What is the goal? I came back. I don't want to say something. I came back for the joy. We were involved in doing. I'm still involved in buying assets, and buying record royalties and masters, which I love to do because you're honoring a legacy. So we were involved in the Dropkick Murphys and the Dead Kennedys. But that's something that you treasure and honor, to make sure that it's that every generation knows what that legacy is and how important they were. Like the Dead Kennedys now and Dropkick Murphys. Dropkick Murphys are like Springsteen, are one of the only bands, and Gang of Four, that have written political protest songs right now. Right, so they still matter. So these are, you talked before about the movie director who learned from The Simpsons. This is the college of musical knowledge that we need to spread to everyone to know, because these are where the future artists are going to get their inspiration and learning from. So there's not really many young indie bands doing songs right now about what's going on. So it's that. But I grew up on, in the indie scene and love it, and it's just watching either young entrepreneurs in their 20s trying to make it work, and watching and working with bands in their 20s trying to figure out what's going on now, where it's a different kind of gatekeeper, where the rules are different. The traffic is the true gatekeeper. And then what do the algorithms tell you? What do you keep hearing? You go online and they tell you better put more content out every couple of months. How do you write great songs every couple? That's impossible. Every band that you love, how long did it take for them to became big? How did that work? In 4 months? Did you ever hear of a band that broke in 3 or 4 months, and then put out a record and now put another one? It has nothing to do with the art. It has nothing to do with indie. The important thing that I came back for is not about. I mean, if you're lucky enough to work with somebody that special who's also that popular, that's glorious. And I have friends who've done it, and I've been part of those, lucky to be part of those kind of big records. But what you really want to do is you really want to be able to figure out a way for artists to have a career. A career. It doesn't. So all of a sudden now, when you think about, can you do this, somebody that you love that actually makes, because we know what music does to us, it changes our lives. It's just too important. I mean, for me, that is my religion. And if you could help someone do that for the rest of their lives, that's a win. So not everyone's going to be. I mean, how many Taylor Swifts are there? How many Bruce Springsteens are there? There just aren't, right? So how many podcasts are there? Everything is traffic. So what do they do? They tell young artists to put things out every 3 or 4. So they're adding to the traffic. It's like being in LA on the 405 and putting more cars on to say, you know what, you need more cars to get through the traffic. No, you don't. that's ridiculous. It takes a long time to find the audience. And if you could find the diehard fans that really care about you, that's how you build a career. That's how it starts. And then from there, some magic could happen and you get to another level and another level. And there you go. I would always tell artists, and again, they might not know who he is or even like him, but if you remember, Billy Joel played what, Madison Square Garden like 500 times? And they would think that, they would kind of clock that. And then I said, do you think anybody new came? That's a fan base,
Yeah.
right? That's a fan base. And some artists could get wealthy on it. But if, there are many artists that, you want to get past headlining clubs and go to theaters, but there are many artists that could spend their life, like Frank, do that and watch other bands pass. But as long as he could matter and be able to write songs that I know move me, I'm spending all that money on merch and I'm going to those shows and I'm in the pit. There's nothing, look, the new Social D record's one of the best records of the year. I'm sorry, it's like hands down. Born to Kill is my favorite song of the year, and we're in June, so we'll see who beats it. But look at them, and they had a hiatus because of personal reasons, but they still matter, and they were never a mega band, but they get to do this for the rest of their lives if they want to. That's if we can do that. That's what I did, and we created other pathways because when you grow up in the music industry, everything is vertical. And when you look at an artist, they're bursts they're rainbow bursts. They just Pride Week, they're rainbow bursts. Their talent, they could be an artist, but they could be a painter. They're an artist. They could write. They could put out a movie. They can act. They're not artists are never one thing. There are creative juices running inside them. So I wanted to create a media company that wherever their dreams were, wherever their creative energy went, we could take them there and have their back, and then strategically help work them through that. That's why there's different. I call them porous walls within the company. So it's nothing is. I don't think linear. So it's an ecosystem. It's more like that. That's what we came back to do, to help the indie community, and then actually try and get the indie community. My God, you see, you turn me on and then it goes. I want to get the indie community to be more like the hip hop community, because they actually had a great culture that helped each other. And the indie community is like individual mom and pop stores, even the artists. And I think that there's a potential to create some kind of indie coalition, which I really want to do, to give leverage to fight the different things that you keep talking about on your show. So it's beyond just the music business in a sense. I think it's kind of a clarion call to kind of help the community excel.
So one question I have is
I'm kind of passionate about it.
Sounds like it.
Well, you clearly are. And one question
This
I
is
have,
like what happens when people ask me about Star Trek.
There you go.
Except I'm actually enjoying what I'm hearing from you, whereas when I talk about Star Trek, people run for the hills.
We'll
I
do
like
that
your
later.
vision.
We'll do another one.
So
Go ahead, Zach.
Let me ask you this, because this is something that hit me as you're talking. It's kind of a two-parter. One, you mentioned that indie artists or artists generally aren't writing protest music anymore, which I think is interesting. I'd love for you to elaborate on that. But also, I think even bigger is before an artist has the numbers and streaming and YouTube and all that to like signal to the majors, like, hey, this is somebody to pay attention. You clearly are looking at artists before that. How do you know an artist has something before their numbers come?
Well, the short answer is you don't. It's really your personal taste. I always call this catching the magic. So it depends where you are. I mean, you remember Prodigy was dropped. Prodigy was over before that record came out. So, I mean, it's like having for me personally, it's like having I keep going back to religion, and I'm not religious, but a religious experience in a sense. You hear something and you just know that this is life-changing. And then that's what you work towards. It's this thing, when I first saw the Matrix, everybody passed on it, and all you saw was a green screen with the actors. But there's just moments where you just know. So if you see, this is what great A&R people are, and there really aren't that many in people who change it. I'm not one. But there's an artist that I love in New York that I could tell you that I don't know, but I would bet the house on her. That's how you feel it. If you feel you have to, what I teach people is the worst word is like. If you like anything, you pass in anything. Because I'll tell you what, you're never going to tell me about an artist or a TV show or a movie that you like, and I'm never going to watch it. You're going to go, like I said, just said, you've got to hear Frank Turner. I, careful with the words, I freaking love him. Like I love him, right? So you either love or hate, right? People love a band, people love a song. Anytime you like something, it's over. So that's where a bulk of things is. That's again, that goes against the algorithm of writing songs. How do you create magic? So it's kind of what I always look at it is it's you're chasing that. You're trying to catch the magic. So there's again this artist in New York that's playing a club that started. This is amazing that she started doing a Tuesday night residency last January. So we're almost at 80 weeks every Tuesday. It's like a brand every Tuesday. I mean, I don't know who does that. She hasn't put out a record yet, and I know I could sing 5 of her songs right now. I've only heard them live. That's how I do it. If I fall in love, if I go, this is just it's got to move me. But again, a lot of my tastes are alternative, so they're not always big. But I just think she's special. So it's what you're willing to spend your time for, because again, when you do this, you're working for free. So it's what you're willing to spend the time for. That's what I know. But the basic things. It's always about a song, and you've got to have a voice, whether it's classically amazing or whether it's just so special and unique the way they approach something. If you're seeing them live, you also want to be able to see that they have 5 people and 20 and 50 and 75 and 250, and now they're headlining Mercury Lounge, or they're going to I'm doing New York clubs. Sorry, they're going to bigger and bigger clubs. People are talking about them. They're selling merch. You could see that there's a reaction. That's before anybody gets interested, because the bigger labels aren't going to care. They're just looking at Spotify followers, so they're not really looking at that. The agents, it's really hard, because if you start booking a band too early, accountants are going to start coming and going, you're making no money spending any time on this for 10% of what. So you've really got to see a potential of growth besides what you love. And I think part of all that magic is the chemistry of the band, the quality of the voice, and it's the song. If it was The Economy Stupid by Carvel, it's the song. It's always the song.
I mean, what you are describing in terms of like how an artist can take off, like I feel like that spirit of how we find the next great artist has largely left the traditional music industry. Like you don't hear about a traditional A&R role where somebody's trying to find that diamond in the rough. Like more than ever, it seems to be that these labels only want something that's a turnkey property. Before we're even going to consider you, we want to see big socials. We want to see, big streams. We want to see that you're already filling the place, and then we'll sign you. And of course, then my answer is, well, what the hell do we need the label for? But I don't know where like the A&R spirit has went in this industry. Like everything you described about how to find the next great artist, like I don't hear the industry talking like that anymore.
US, go to England, they talk like that. Go. I'm just saying, London still has an A&R thing. They don't always look at socials. Indie labels are more like that. That's where the indie thing comes from, right? Because they have to take chances, right? If they wait too long, they'll lose everything, right? So, but some of the biggest indies are not. I mean, it took Geese a long time to really catch fire. And all the crap around it is bull, because if they weren't a great band, it doesn't matter how many people. We've all done this. I would teach people at a record label that people thought they broke a record. You don't break a record. You're a conveyor belt. You bring stuff. You use as much smarts as you can to create. That's what we do. I teach people. You create as many doors of opportunity for people to enter as you possibly can, because you never know where they're going to discover you. How many doors can you create? That's our job. But if they open the door and they don't care, or they like it, so whatever promotion that they talked about, Geese, my God, I would have done that in a heartbeat. We did it all the time. We always did that. There's nothing wrong with trying to get an artist to be discovered. But if they weren't great, people wouldn't have cared. So they were able to live up to all of whatever that was. So that was all just, I thought that was just online garbage. That didn't matter. And I'm not a big Geese fan. One of my best friends can't live without him. He went from Dylan to Geese. So, and even the Bulwark podcast, Tim Miller can't stop talking about Geese. So they're all over the place.
I mean,
But they earned it.
I like your perspective because like there is like a lot of talk about just like kind of just dumping on this band, which I think is largely unwarranted. So I'm glad to get
It's
your
a
perspective
backlash.
on that.
It's okay. Yeah.
Our guest has been Russ Rieger. You can find out more about our guest's work by visiting notdeadyetmedia.com. He's got a great podcast. You got to check out what he's doing. We love what he's doing over here. We got one last question for you. And I think this is just going to have to be the first of many subsequent conversations with you because like there's so many places we can go that we didn't have time for this week, but that just means we have to talk to you again. But let me give you our final question here, and I'm particularly interested in getting your answer to it. Do you
Sure.
have any last tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
I think there's three truths. It's the song and touring, right? I don't want to get too long on this. So if we just think again, it's always about the song, but if you need to be able to play in front of people because it gives you the reaction. That's where your diehard fans are. And you know what's great about playing in front of people? That's where your social media content comes. That's authentic and real. So you're actually doing more than one thing. That's where your email list is coming from, right? So that's where you're getting people that you could talk to. That's where you could sell merch. So it's been true in every decade for an artist to be able to do that, right? They need to be able to perform and build that audience so that when it's kind of like the kindling, so something could happen when it goes to go. But it's really hard and it's really daunting because all you're doing now, which you didn't do when I was younger, let's say. So I don't want to put you guys in it because I don't want to make Zach feel old. You're looking at so many things now that you never saw before. So you're always seeing the successful ones. You're always seeing the rich ones. You're always seeing things that are working. So how do you not get depressed by looking, and how do you not feel daunted by looking at this and going, I have no chance? And I keep saying, I always widen the aperture, but at this point, you shrink it. You just want to grab those fans that matter because they're your marketing team. They're your fan base. They're going to work for you for free. That's what I am, right? That's what you are. They're the ones who are going to support you. You need to be able to grab that. So instead of thinking I need to please everybody or I need to be this, I need to get to 200. I need to get to 500. It's a little bit more. It's still hard. It's always hard. But that shows you something. But the bite-sized thing is how you build it. And that's how you build a career and get there. And then people start taking notice because people will take notice if that happens. So if you could work on that and block as much as you can of this and just start grabbing the ones that really matter and then keeping them on and then let them bring 3 to your show and let them bring 3 to their show and just do it more. And then put out amazing stuff that matters to you that you believe in and then stay working it. Because if you have 1,000 streams on Spotify, it doesn't mean the song's old. It means that no one heard it yet. It doesn't matter. People now are listening to songs 30 years ago. Who cares? A song's a song's a song. So you just stay with that. If you think you have it, if it's reacting live, if people are requesting it, if you're seeing that's your best, you're ending with that, if it's your best song of the night, keep that one going. Keep and find other ways. Create as many doors as possible to have people to discover you.
That's great perspective. And it definitely makes that kind of growth seem manageable and achievable. Love that. Our thanks to Russ Rieger. Our thanks to Zach Sloan and producer Lauren. Our thanks to all of you viewers and listeners for checking out Break the Business. We'll see you next week.